Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to tonight's second half. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and the membership are in the description below, merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They all were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. Finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's second half, shall we? So today I had a real long day. I went and helped my dad do some stuff, but I also went to speak to a friend of mine who teaches a class at the local community college close to where I live, SUNY Adirondack. And they teach like videography and film, stuff like that. So I sat with him for about 2 hours breaking down a couple of video clips. Ones that I just really felt we need to look at a little better. And I want to share these with you again. But what I'm asking you to do is, if you have the capability of watching these video clips in this upload on a computer, please do. I know some people may not have a computer, they may just have the cell phone. I will try to enlarge everything so you guys can see just what me and my friend saw. We slowed a lot of pieces down on this, and I don't know, I'm pretty sold on a couple. Check them out. Tonight's first terrifying experience. A little backstory. This happened a few years ago when me and my friends were in our junior year of high school, 2018. There's a national forest area northwest of our small western Colorado hometown that used to be Ute land before the Meeker massacre happened, and the natives were forced from the land. Being teenagers, we would frequent this area and our trucks and have bonfires, shoot targets, drink, smoke, fornicate, without having to worry about law enforcement crashing our party. One night we were having a small bonfire with a group of my closest friends. A pretty quiet night. I had picked everyone up in my pickup truck, so it was the only vehicle available. And the road to the clearing was a bit treacherous, so we had to be very careful not to get stuck in the mud or the trees. Throughout the night, we kept hearing what sounded somewhat like an owl, but almost like someone impersonating an owl. On top of that, owls are fairly rare in this part of Colorado. It's a very dry climate, more home to vultures and mountain lions. We heard the noise around 5 times throughout an hour span, and it quickly devolved from an ooh, ooh, to just a singular ooh noise, similar to a gorilla sound. At this point, we're concerned. One of my buddies taunted whatever it was making the noise by repeating it back to the tree line. At this point, the sound was immediately repeated, much louder than before, as if it was just behind the tree line. We crapped ourselves and everyone scrambled to my truck. I hauled ass as much as possible back to the main road. The main road was still washboard gravel, so I tried my best to channel my inner rally car driver to get us the hell out of there. On the drive home the mountain, one of my friends was riding shotgun and the rest were sitting in the bed facing forward. As we rounded a curve, chaos ensued. I heard something from the bed of the truck, and my friend sitting shotgun nearly crapped herself about whatever the hell was happening back there. Instinctively, I slammed on the brakes and looked in the rear view. I didn't get a good look, but I can only describe it as a skinny, hairy, humanoid creature with an arched back sprinting across the road behind the truck on all fours. No coordination to its movements. It moved as if it was an old man trying to bear crawl at 2 times video speed. I barely had time to process before I was being screamed at to hit the gas. We finally got off the mountain, and my friends in the back of the truck appeared shell-shocked. I asked them if they had seen what I saw. They refused to answer, only saying, "Get us out of here." It was only after, when we were at our friend's house and they had calmed down and felt comfortable to talk about what they saw. Everyone described it the same way. All 4s, fast as hell, and humanoid. 2 of the 3 described it as having long, creepy fingers. Eyes locked on the truck as it crossed the road. They said they saw the trees and brushes moving down the road as if it was trying to catch up to them. 4 years later, the experience still makes the hairs stand on end. In addition, other weird things began to happen in the forest after nightfall. We had personally encountered a goat that had been killed by something. Feet straight up in the air, stomach slashed in 6 equal cuts, head nowhere to be found. I moved out of that town 3 years ago, but whenever I come to visit it creeps me out. I refuse to enter the area after dark, even towards sunset. Tonight's second encounter. This has been going on for a few years now. The first time I encountered it, I was chopping on a tree with a hatchet at the edge of the woods. And after a while, I got this creepy sense of fear coming over me. I start looking around to see if there's any type of animal or anything I didn't see. Then I decided I'd had enough of being creeped out and started to head back to the house. The feeling of being watched has still not gone away. I look back at the tree and I see a humanoid creature prowling low to the ground next to the tree. Its gray skin was tight against its body, sharp claws protruding out of its fingers, empty eyes staring right at me. I promptly went inside. A few months later, I saw it again. It was in the middle of the night. I had gotten up to go to the bathroom. My room is at the end of the hallway, so I had plenty of time to look out the window next to the bathroom door. While looking through it, I saw something staring back, the same empty eyes as before. When I noticed that I saw it, it ran off. Third time I saw it, my friend had come over to stay the night. We were going through a closet in the extra room, found some old jackets. We decided it'd be fun to go around outside wearing them. It was dark out. We weren't out there too long before we started hearing things. It was at the edge of the woods, near where I saw it before. What we were hearing were like footsteps, like a person walking around, heavy stomping in the brush. So the smart kids decided to start making noises and throwing sticks and stuff to try and get a reaction out of it. And we did. First came the smell. Imagine the worst smell you've ever smelt. It was worse. We stopped for a minute because the smell was so bad. Then the footsteps stopped. We thought, okay, it left. Nope. We started hearing running towards us. We didn't stick around to find out what it was and ran into the house. The fourth time I encountered it, a couple of my friends came out to stay the night. We were kids and liked to play hide and seek outside, but only when the moon was gone, so it was harder to see. It was mine and my friend's turn to hide, so we hid in this shed-type thing off to the side of the garage. The front of it was open, and the side towards the woods was halfway open. I was hiding behind this piece of metal that was leaning against the half-open wall. By this time, the seeker should have been outside trying to find us. He was not. I could see the door where he should have come out, but he never did. After a while of sitting there, talking to my other friend that hid there too, I heard footsteps outside on the gravel coming from the woods. I asked my friend if they heard it, and they said yeah. We got quiet, thinking it was the seeker, but I had never seen him go out the door. I just think, oh, he went out the front door to trick us. I was wrong. The smell returned, and the footsteps got closer. It was coming up to the wall that leans into the room. I can see its long, deformed foot, its sharp claws instead of toenails. Then I see the seeker come out the door, and so does it. It walks off, not in a hurry. After it goes, I sit there for a while, heart beating after 100 beats per minute. And I asked my friend if they saw it. They said they heard it. I called to the seeker and asked them to help me out. I didn't want to stay out there any longer. The fifth time I encountered it happened a few months ago. The same two friends from before. We had come out in the day to hang out. So we did for the day and had a good time and all. We were chilling at this park area on my property, right next to the woods where it resides. It was pitch black outside, of course, but the park had lights, which we had on. So after a while of talking, I needed to go to the bathroom or get something out of the house. When I got back, the lights to the park had been turned off. I turned on the flashlight on my phone and head over there. I found my friend sitting on the chair they had been in. I asked where the other two went. He said he didn't know. I tell them to help me find the other two. We walk around for a while trying to call him and stuff. Then we hear someone walking back and forth in the woods. It's kind of by the road. We went out thinking it was friend 2, and we slowly went towards it. After a few seconds of walking, friend 2 comes over from the opposite direction and says not to go over there. He explains how he had been hearing noises and stuff coming from over there for a while now. While we were talking, we noticed that it was completely still outside. No noises or anything, which was weird. Then we started hearing noises from across the road. We were like, that's messed up. And then I decided to cross the fence and go over there. It was the same walking back and forth that I had just heard from before. Like it was trying to get us to follow it. I tell them that I think that and to stay back. We decide to throw stuff and make noise at it and make it go away, but it never did. We waited there until their parents came and got them, and after they did, then I ran as fast as I could to my house. There is an Indian burial ground a few miles away from the area where I live. Today's third experience. This experience is 100% true, and I'm sharing it to warn people, to let them know that there is definitely something out there, and to this day I still don't know what it was, nor have I gone into any woods or forest whatsoever. If you don't believe me, that's completely fine. First off, I'm a girl and I live in North Carolina in the United States. I was 15 at the time of this encounter, and was definitely not a believer in anything supernatural, paranormal, or anything of the sort. It happened while I was at a local summer camp. There was absolutely nothing special about that day, no weird lights, people, animals, sounds, nothing. It was just the same camp schedule as I had grown used to in the past 2 weeks since I'd been there. My age group had just finished lunch and was able to persuade our counselor to let us play a game called Scatter Down by the lake. It's like a giant hide-and-seek in the woods. Now, we had played this at least 20 times before that day, and nothing weird had happened to any of us. And we all had grown up playing in the woods, so it's not like we had any aversion or fear of it. But for some reason that day, when our counselor shouted scatter, and I ran to find a hiding spot, it became a whole new ballgame. I had run as far as I could while still being able to see the lake, as were the rules, and had found a huge old uprooted tree that I decided would be a perfect hiding spot. So I laid down as close as I could against the ground and waited. I had been there for about 5 minutes when I suddenly heard a voice calling my name in a weird, dreamy-like voice, and not just any voice, my mom's. Now, me and my mom are extremely close, thick as thieves, so I know her voice anywhere. And I would swear on my own grave that it was without a doubt hers, but I knew it couldn't have been her. She was more than 20 miles away at work, and even if it had actually been her, and she had come to pick me up. Early, and the voice wasn't coming from the lake, it was coming from further in the woods beyond the border of camp. I knew I should have run away from this strange mimic mom's voice, but I couldn't. It was almost hypnotic. It messed with my thoughts and gave me doubts, like, well, it could be my mom, or what if she's hurt? And I have to get to her. All of these things were flooding my mind like someone had broken a dam I didn't know was there, until they finally overwhelmed me with emotions that got the better of me, and I took off running in the direction the voice was coming from. I ran as far as I could with only this strange voice as my guide. I couldn't have run for more than 5 or 6 minutes when I got to a clearing and the voice suddenly stopped. When I entered the clearing and didn't hear my mom's voice calling me anymore, could I finally think clearly, and started to have a little alarm bells going off in my head saying, "You idiot, that's not Mom, run." But I couldn't run. I didn't know where to run. I had gotten so far away I had lost sight of the lake by camp, and had absolutely no idea where I was. And I was completely exhausted to boot. With no other options than to sit and catch my breath, I did just that. No sooner had I sat down, more warning bells went off in my head. I quickly did a 360 survey around the clearing and noticed a strange noise. It wasn't a continuation of the voice before, no. It was a distinct sound of chattering teeth, like if you were cold, only there was no one else around, and it was the middle of June in North Carolina. There's no way someone could be that cold. And that's when I heard it. Leaves and sticks crunch at the edge of the small clearing, and I realized something was watching me. And then, whatever it was, moved and fast in circles around the clearing, almost like it was circling prey. And it was at that moment I knew whatever it was had led me out here away from the rest of my group. Exactly like the predator my instincts had been screaming at me that it was. Without any other options other than try and escape, I took off in the direction I thought I had come from and sprinted as fast as I could. all the while hearing that chattering of teeth and sticks crunching behind me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't dare turn around to see what was chasing me. I knew that if I did, I would slow down and absolutely would not. I felt like a lifetime running away from this thing before I finally saw the lake. And even though I didn't think I could, I ran faster than I ever had in my entire life. When I broke the tree line, I ran to the lake where I knew my friends were. At that point, I felt safe enough to stop and look back and see just what had been chasing me. But when I did, I only saw a fleeting form running back the way I had come from, the distinct sound of chattering teeth. When I finally found my counselor, who was the seeker to find us all, I was hysterical with fear. I hugged her as tight as I could. When I finally calmed down, she tried to get me and tell her what happened, but I just asked, "Were you calling my name?" Before she even said anything, I had already knew the answer. After all, it had been my mom's voice that led me away from everyone else. But what she replied with was so much more bone-chilling to me. She told me, "No one called for you. We didn't know you were gone. Everyone is still hiding. The game isn't even over yet." Today's fourth experience. I can't say I've been to a whole lot of places, and especially not out of state. As a matter of fact, this experience takes place on my first vacation out of Florida. I'm not entirely sure what I saw. I'll spare you most of the boring filler. No one wants to read about a 7-hour trip there and back, occasional stopping points. You know the drill. It was only me, my mom, and little brother on this trip, as Dad never really enjoyed long drives, especially out of state. The town we were set to stay in was a German-themed tourist town by the name of Helen. It was a nice little town, good people, interesting attractions, and some decent food. Our hotel room overlooked a small river that divided our part of town, and there was a set of stairs just 3 foot from the low wall that separated the buildings from the river bank. As we were pulling into the hotel, I looked around and got quite a strange feeling. Not exactly something wrong or that there was something watching us, just a feeling. Everything looked quite normal. It was cloudy. People were walking around. It just all looked fine to me. My excitement from being all the way in northern Georgia and seeing so many mountains overrode this feeling, and it was soon forgotten when I stepped out to take my brother out of the car. Things went as normal. We checked in, brought our stuff to the room, and collapsed on the beds. We were all extremely tired from the trip, and it was nearing nighttime. Decided to only go out for dinner that night. We went to a little German burger place pub, conveniently within walking distance from our hotel room. The pub was overlooked the small river, and we got to eat as the sun slowly went down over the mountains, sitting by those large metal heaters you sometimes see outdoors. It continued to be a quiet, now nighttime setting as we walked back, up until we reached the steps to get to our second-floor room. I was about halfway up the steps when I noticed that my brother had stopped walking behind me. Mom was still at the pub using the restroom and paying the bill for our dinner. Jay, he called to me, not moving from the spot. I was confused but not put off by it, since he usually stops to tell me about something that's minor, or even non-existent. I walk over, bending to his height, and say, "What's up, bud?" "Look, over there, it's a wolf," he said, pointing into the darkness. Now, my brother's 6. He's not exactly familiar with all breeds of animals, especially the distinction between wolves, dogs, and coyotes, and the like. So, it was a bit of shock when I saw a coyote on the bank of the river, thinking he had just seen someone's dog. The coyote was stiff as a board, staring into the water. I'd never seen a coyote in real life before, nor was I familiar with their habitats. But something about the coyote just wasn't right. It felt alien, like it wasn't meant to be there. At first, I mistook it as a stone-like posture, as a sort of statue, but then it moved its head to the right. The movement was robotic, stiff, steady, and quick. How strange, I thought, reasoning it was probably a trick of the moonlight in the overhead trees. At this point, I should have just moved on and left it alone, but my brother kept nagging me about it, and I could tell he was scared. He wanted me to scare it away so it wouldn't bother us, I sighed, telling him, "No, that's mean to do to animals. Besides, that doggy is dangerous. It's not like most doggies." Boy, was I right about that latter part. But, of course, I didn't know it at the time. Mom wasn't back yet, but that meant she would definitely be here soon, and she would be annoyed that I wasn't in our room yet. I picked up my brother to get him to move on, but when I turned around, the coyote was in front of the stairs, staring at me and my brother. My body went cold. I didn't have any experience with coyotes, but I knew for damn sure that they weren't friendly neighborhood dogs. We must have been talking too loud, and it snuck up over to get a better look at us. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to provoke it, but I also knew the nearest safe location was at our hotel room. That's when it stood up, right on its hind legs. The moon came from behind some clouds as this thing stood up, now illuminated. I could instantly tell that it had many scars and wounds. It was missing fur, and there was a bit of dried blood around its mouth. I quickly realized that one of its front legs was bent at an odd angle, as if it had been broken. Its jaw was also crooked, and I could see that one of its eyes had been scratched out. My brother's now crying, rambling about scary doggies and bad doggies. I myself was perched to run, but I had the distinct feeling that if I ran, I would be overran very quickly at that moment. I heard my mom walking up behind me and calling my name, evidently confused as to why I was tensed up in the middle of the path, staring at the stairs and holding my baby brother who was crying. Then the thing bolted fast as the wind, faster than any living thing I'd ever seen in my entire life, still on its hind legs. "Jay, what are you doing? Why aren't you in the room?" She was definitely confused, but I'm not sure if an explanation would have helped her at all. So I told her what we had seen. "We saw an opossum, Mom," and my brother was scared of it and wouldn't go any further. He wouldn't stop chanting, "Bad doggy, bad doggy, bad doggy." But it's not like I could do anything about that. And on the plus side, he says random things like that all the time. So my mom didn't take note of it. I didn't see the coyote thing that next night, and by the time night fell on day 3, we had to go back home. Whatever I saw, I definitely do not wish to see again, though I am sure it'll appear in my nightmares soon enough. And tonight's final experience. This experience takes place in Texas, December of 2018. Weeks leading up to this incident, my mom did notice a hand. The hand had a lot of fur and claws at the end of each finger. It looked like the mix between a human hand and a dog paw. My mom saw it, clawing, scratching at the window. She went back to sleep and didn't think much of it. And there was a curtain at the window, so she didn't see anything else that night. A couple of nights later, I woke up randomly. When I woke up, I noticed something with thick fur. I rubbed my eyes to make sure of what I saw. I looked through the spaces of the curtain and saw a werewolf-like creature, 6 to 7 feet tall. I remember it looked like the head of a husky, and the fur was thick. The color of this werewolf was dark gray, brown, and red. The werewolf had pointed ears with some white on them, and had icy blue-colored eyes. I was very intrigued by this werewolf. I didn't feel scared or threatened in any way. I felt this werewolf was curious and had muscles all over its body, had abs, and it was always on its hind legs. It stood like a human. I did feel I was hypnotized for some reason, and I'm not sure if he saw me. I do say he because I felt that it was a he, not a she. Hard to explain. I did feel the werewolf with the icy blue eyes was coming back to see me again. I never saw him again, but yet I felt like I knew those eyes, like I've seen them somewhere. I know, it's strange. Like a week later, I woke up to howls in the area I live in. I don't usually hear coyotes or wolves. Then I checked my phone to see it was 3:30 a.m. I thought it's an odd time frame to hear howls so deep. The howls were so deep the ground felt like it was shaking a little. Then I heard something horrible. I heard a poor dog being torn apart by giant werewolf beasts. There were at least 4 in the pack. They sounded big. Their howls kept going. The poor dog kept crying and yelping as it was being eaten. I was too scared to look outside, but it didn't look that close, maybe a mile away. My mom heard the howling and the dog being torn apart alive, that poor dog crying and yelping. My dad, of course, in a deep sleep. The neighbors heard them as well, and my next-door neighbor. My next-door neighbors are young people who would drink at parties and go out late. So they were about to leave and open their door when they heard them scream. And one said, "Go back inside," and I heard another shut the door and lock it. I'm not sure what scared them, but they don't usually get scared easy. I heard our other neighbor from the downstairs talking on the phone, saying crazy things happen late at night. He kept saying the stories you hear when you are young are not stories, they are real. He said he can't sleep at night. I don't live in the countryside. I live near a mall and stores are nearby. There are some spaces between with trees and some spaces of land, and I've seen cattle in those areas of land with fences. Luckily, I've never seen any werewolves, and I've never seen coyotes in my area, any of that. I still hear the howls from time to time, but I hear it miles and miles away. It's weird. I do hear them from far away, I know. I just wanted to share this experience because it's something I never expected to happen. Those screams from that poor dog is something I'll never forget, and I don't want to hear again. All right, guys, I hope you can see what my friend and I saw. And I do, please, encourage you guys to watch the videos on your computer. It's hard to see if you're watching on a phone. I mean, I have an S23 Ultra, and a lot of video clips, I'm just like, I really don't know what I'm looking at until you put it on a computer screen, you know, or your TV. Either or. I myself do the computer because I can stop things, slow it down, this and that. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Your support is what makes this channel so special. The community you guys have in the comment section is amazing. The support, the dialect that you guys it's amazing. It really is. Dialogue, excuse me. It's just awesome, and it's unbelievably appreciated. Also, you guys are the reason why I keep growing and going, and I never thought I'd hit 1,000 subscribers, and look at us now. Look at us now, because we are a community. We are a community within a community. Guys, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our family, our friends, our pets. These creatures are real, they're out there, they're dangerous. Share a little bit of information with the people that you love and care about. It may just save their life someday. Until next time, God bless.